Orange, feeling very orange. Background's orange. My beard feels orange. Oh, hi there, and welcome back. Today, I would like to talk about Bleach again. Only this time, not the anime. There have been tons of rumors. I don't know if you've been living under a rock, but there's lots of rumors about Bleach potentially coming back in manga form. Now, 5 years ago, I think it was 2021, Bleach got a one-shot sequel kind of manga chapter. It was No Breathes from Hell or No Breaths from Hell, depending on which part of the chapter you're in. And it did leave off on a cliffhanger. This being said, around that time, we were getting the anime announcement, talks of that, and it seemed like Kubo kind of had his hands full with the anime. Over time, he had gotten multiple questions of, hey, are you going to do a Hell arc? Are you going to do a Hell arc? And he kind of made some jokes about like, oh, well, you know, I work on it when I want to work on it. When people tell me to work on it, I kind of don't want to work on it. And all that jazz, right? And so it's been kind of like a little bit of a toss-up here and there. We've gotten some information through Club Outside here and there, but for the most part, it's kind of been kind of a sleeping giant. We all kind of assumed that eventually he would come back to it, but it was hard to know when. This being said, there are some rumors swirling around about Sakamoto Days ending and something has to take its place. And that something seems to maybe be Bleach? Towards the end of June, maybe at the beginning of July, there was a rumor like, oh, Sakamoto Days is in its final like battle. They're heading towards the climax, and it's going to be ending at some point in the next few months, right? And at that time, there was really no hard evidence 100%, other than the fact that it was in its climax, its final battle. But it was hard to nail down the timeline for sure. That being said, Sakamoto Days has now announced that it is basically rapidly moving towards its end, with people specifically kind of saying that it might be done in a few weeks. And that's where Bleach leakers, I'm honestly not super up on who's relevant as far as Bleach leaks are concerned, but they started coming out of the woodwork around that time and talking about, hey, yeah, Bleach is going to come back in manga format and maybe, I don't think it's confirmed. I mean, nothing is confirmed, but I don't think they know for sure. It might be weekly, which is insane because if you think about Shonen Jump right now, it's got One Piece, obviously. Kagurabachi's going off. Hunter x Hunter just came back from one of its longest hiatuses. And you're telling me that Bleach is also going to be in the magazine on a weekly basis? Not monthly like Boruto, but weekly? That's huge news. And honestly, I'm kind of surprised after Sakamoto Days, like, I think it was officially announced that it was going to be wrapping up within the next, like, month or so. I could be wrong, but it feels like people should be talking about this a lot more. So let's talk about Bleach, the manga, the Hell arc. I've talked about some of this stuff in the past in previous videos, especially immediately after the one-shot came out, but it might be good to have another brief conversation just to kind of refresh ourselves and see what we expect coming up. So first off, when is it coming? We don't know. There is literally no official information on this, and leakers have been kind of seemingly quiet about things since the beginning of July when they first talked about Sakamoto Days ending and Bleach starting up after it. This being said, I kind of have it in my own head about where I think that the manga could come back. And I think its best time frame might be late September into maybe October. Now, I have no idea. I do not read Sakamoto Days, but I feel like what they're going to do is it'll end maybe by the end of August, give or take. And then they'll probably take a month off. That's not uncommon for shonen manga to not take up a spot. Bleach itself has taken breaks back in the day where it's just gone for a month or two. So I don't think Shonen Jump is worried about like empty slots for at least a month. But I do think that they could do that. They could have a month off. Maybe September is off. And then coming in October, Bleach comes back. And the reason why I think all this is look at the anime. We now know for sure that the core is 10 episodes long. So that's 3 less weeks than we at least thought it was going to be. And if you look at the timeline, it kind of makes sense. The anime ends around the end of September, very beginning of October. And then what better way to get people to stay on Bleach than, oh, anime is over, now start reading the manga. So if I had to give my guess, I think Sakamoto Days ends at the end of August, maybe beginning of September. They take a break, and then Bleach gets announced either before Sakamoto Days ends or sometime during September for a brand new serialization in October, which is so exciting because honestly, I never got to really react to Bleach on a channel. By the time I was starting my channel, Bleach was ending. And I don't know, maybe I would do reviews. I don't know if maybe people would like that. Bleach is like kind of a hidden gem in some ways because everybody's reacting to One Piece or whatever, right? And Hunter, and all that jazz, all the stuff that's been relevant for the last like decade. And it seems like people really want to talk about Bleach, but they just don't have a lot of there are specific Bleach YouTubers, but it feels like everybody's kind of siloed off in their own world. So I feel like people want to talk about it. So that's the when and where. But the question is, where does a Hell arc start? We've already technically had our first chapter, so are they going to expect people to read the one shot and then immediately go into a new serialization that has already started through another medium? Granted, that's not a huge ask. I mean, it's different from like, you know, like when people watch Marvel movies and then they set up stuff in the TV shows. That's totally different. You shouldn't have to watch a TV show in order to understand what's going on in a movie, but you could conceivably read the one shot and then continue into whatever serialization that they have planned for Bleach. That being said, I would not be shocked if when it formally comes back, I guess still if, because we don't know for sure, but if it does come back, it would not shock me if Kubo kind of did like a recap, not a recap, not, it wouldn't be boring or anything, but like kind of, you know, resetting things up, reintroducing characters that maybe he introduced in the one shot and kind of reconfirming, hey, this is what's going on now. You know, I think it's supposed to be like 12 or 13 years later. So I think that's maybe a good starting point. The next thing I want to bring up is, do we think the anime will tease it anyway? I kind of brought this up in my previous video, but I just wanted to say again here for the sake of clarity, I'm not 100% sure. I think that they don't want to muddy the waters too much, right? You can, in terms of marketing, say, you just finished up the anime, now go read the manga, right? But if you're teasing something in the anime for something that like is not going to be animated for a long, long time, then it feels like they wouldn't want to do that. So unless the Hell arc suddenly becomes animated first in some way, sort of like how they did with Boruto, which I don't think they would do, I don't see them fully teasing it. That being said, maybe little breadcrumbs here and there. For the people that know, they know, but if you're just watching Bleach, like maybe you're an anime only, right? Then heck, maybe you'll notice it, but it won't really mean as much to you. Now, like I said, I've made multiple videos back in the day when the one shot came out about these topics, but I kind of wanted to talk about them again. Who do we think is going to be in Hell? I think the obvious answers are the captains, right? We already know that Yamamoto, Unohana, and obviously Ukitake are in Hell. But I guess that's the thing, right? All the other captains that have ever died would be in Hell. And that includes, I mean, like, I'd be interested to know if like how many generations of captains there actually has been, you know, like, has it been the kind of thing where like you had the original Court Guard squad and then a couple here and there over the course of years, and then you kind of land where we are at now? Because it's not like Soul Reapers don't live for hundreds, if not thousands of years anyways. So it's entirely possible that there's not as many captain level characters as we think there might be. And given that the Court Guard squad was made, what, 1,000 years earlier, there honestly might not be as many people as we think in Hell that we would have to deal with from the Court Guard squad. And that's not to say that there aren't exciting characters. I think obviously, who we already talked about, yes, but then we also have the original Court Guard squad, who Kubo drew these characters fully for the anime. I feel like he wouldn't have done that if he didn't have some kind of plan. So I think that we end up seeing them as main antagonists, or at least as a faction of the main antagonists. And we'll kind of settle down the idea of which court guard squad was the strongest, the original or the current or somewhere in between. A lot of people think that the court guard squad that we met during the Soul Society arc was the strongest, and not for nothing, that's not untrue. But like, also Aizen brings up all he kind of raises the curve a little bit and like brings the whole class up. So I don't know. It's hard to say for sure, but I think that we're going to see some really cool battles. And with that being said, I think we finally see Kenpachi beat all the other Kenpachis. Kenpachi Zaraki, I mean. We've seen him beat Unohana, and that's great. I think he'll end up fighting all of the other Kenpachis that have ever been, finally proving that he is the Kenpachi, not just a Kenpachi. And that being said, there is technically one other Kenpachi that is not dead, and that is, what is his name? Soya Azashiro, who is, I think, in Muken? I'm honestly not sure. I did not read the Spirits Are Forever With You light novels. I think he might be in Muken, or maybe he just kind of like bugged off somewhere. But he's around somewhere, and it would be really interesting to see the two of them team up against all the other Kenpachis. Maybe not Unohana because, her story's already been told to some degree. But it would be cool to see them team up, and then at the very end, Kenpachi Zaraki takes out Soya Hazeshiro. That might be really cool, actually. Meanwhile, we have the whole plot around Kazui opening the gates of hell. It seems like he's maybe shepherding souls unwittingly into hell. Clearly, he's being manipulated by someone. Who? I don't know. Is it the kind of thing where, like, is hell inherently evil? Like the people who run hell, I guess? There's a lot we don't know about hell right now as far as, like, well, are the people who run hell, are they inherently evil too? Or is it just the people that go there plus obviously the captain level characters who are not necessarily evil, but, maybe they become evil. It seems like Ukitake is into some stuff, so it's hard to know for sure, but like somebody is clearly manipulating Kazui into bringing these unwitting souls into hell, and he probably doesn't know what he's doing. I wouldn't be shocked if he thinks that he's bringing them to a gate that sends them to the Soul Society, and heck, it could be a captain or a captain level Soul Reaper from hell that is telling him what to do. I can't imagine what he's gonna do when he finds out. I bet we're in for a real heartbreaking chapter when he finally realizes that he's been sending these poor people off to fire and brimstone. While we're talking about Kazui, I do want to bring up, he does technically have a Zanpakuto, and he does, like, put on some form of a Shihakusho, but his powers are weird, because his powers are, like, a weird mix of both, like, it's almost like he's got, like, a Fullbring himself, which I guess technically would make sense. Maybe he's not really a Soul Reaper, he's just a Fullbringer, although technically he would have latent Soul Reaper powers anyways because of Ichigo, but be that as it may, his powers are more nebulous, given that he can just kind of transform at will rather than having to, like, leave a body. So it'll be interesting to see what his skills are with a sword. Does he have a Shikai? Does he have a proper, a Sauchi Zanpakuto? Or is he like how Ichigo was before he got his Asauchi, making him not a real Soul Reaper? To be perfectly honest, I think it would be very cool if Kazui kind of used a mix of all of the races in some way. Like, maybe he can activate his powers similar to a Fullbring, but it's like, the base powers are kind of just Soul Reaper powers. But then maybe instead of Flash Step, he's using Bringer Light. I mean, maybe he's got Blutvina, and it's like, he's just this swirling mass of energy that, like, he's got a little bit of everything. And similar to, I mean, Ichigo technically does all that too, but, like, his powers are, in a lot of ways, more separated out. He can just access them now. But I would be interested to see what he can do. And finally, for this video, I hope Kubo clarifies exactly what's going on with Ichigo's Zanpakuto. At the end of the series, he's got the two, right? That's the thing. He's got the two Shikai swords, and then they combine to make the true Tenza Zangetsu. But then we see him in the Hell Arc chapter with his old Shikai, and according to Club Outside, Ichigo can, like, do whatever he wants, basically. It's apparently malleable, so he can have 2 swords if he wants, but he can also just use the one if he wants. But how does that work for, like, when it changes into his Bankai, right? Like, I think his long, skinny Bankai is gone for sure, but, like, when he uses his Bankai with the single sword that looks like his old Shikai, does it just get a little bit bigger with the white sheath looking part on the outside? Is that it? Like, that's not a huge transformation compared to, you know, his cleaver going into this long skinny sword or his 2 swords going into the big cleaver. So I would like some clarity on that. I've always said that how his new true Bankai works is it's basically a sword and a sheath together. The sheath acting also as a blade, but the reason why it breaks and then has what appears to be a longer handled version of his original Shikai is that that's basically his true Bankai underneath. So that all kind of muddies things. I just want some clarity on how it works. I want to see it in action when he's actually fighting for real. I think seeing him fight will be very telling. So that's all I really got to say about that. So those are just some things that I wanted to talk about as far as Bleach returning. I think that's super exciting. I am so excited to see what Kubo has planned for it, if he actually does. It could not happen, all right? But I'd be really interested to see how the Hell Arc goes. Obviously, it's not like we're going into a full series. It's not going to be multiple arcs. It'll just probably be the Hell Arc. So I'm interested to see how he does it. Is it full serialization every single week with, you know, break weeks accepting? Or is it like, I don't know, maybe he'll do, I think what Togashi is doing, like a certain set of chapters every year now, but he's going to be more consistent. Maybe it's like that, and he'll do 10 chapters a year or whatever, or 10 chapters in a row, and then a break couple of months or something. I don't know. But it'll be interesting to see. I suspect that we won't get an announcement until, again, closer to mid-September, maybe in September in general, if it even happens, right? But let me know what you guys think down below in the comment section. Are you excited for Bleach to come back? What do you hope to see? Will we finally see Tetsuzaimon Iba's Shikai release and Bankai? I don't know. It seems like maybe that's something Kubo finds funny and he just keeps not showing us. I don't know. But let me know what you guys think. What are you excited to see? Who are you guys excited to see in the Hell Arc? What do you want to see Kubo do with the characters, new characters and old characters alike? Let me know down in the comments section. That's it for me. I will see you guys hopefully very soon in another video. Take care.